Well, what's old is new again. Um, I don't really think we need to waste too much time getting into this one. I am Beau Benson, by myself. This is the Sick Podcast, the Dodger Zone. Let's get into it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Dodger Zone.
And strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
The sickest LA Dodgers podcast. It's gonna be sick.
That time of year again. It's time to just listen to Hello Darkness, My Old Friend over and over again. Dodgers lose 6-5 to the San Diego Padres. Not a lot to say out of this one, honestly, guys. Ryan and Monty are they're busy, probably drowning their sorrows, much like I wish I was. Although it's hard to say sorrows, I did in fact pick the Padres to win in 4, which they are well on track to do because the Dodgers cannot get out of their own way. Kudos to Mookie Betts. He finally got a hit. Shout out to Ryan for predicting he would go 2 for 4 tonight, which he did do. He hit a home run, thought he got robbed, started to walk back to the dugout, and did in fact hit the home run. Didn't get robbed by Profar this time, and it was pretty much all downhill from there. The Dodgers defense just completely fell apart in the second inning. Let Walker Buehler down. This is probably Walker Buehler's last start with the Dodgers. And if it was, hell of a career. And the Dodgers pulled off a little fake comeback in the second inning there, third inning, I believe. Hit a grand slam, and then they didn't have a base runner until like the 8th. You have to credit the Padres pitching for that. The bullpen is as good as everybody thought it was going to be going into October. And that's pretty much the game right there. Yeah, I don't really know where to go with this team. Like, it's the same team year after year. 10 years now, it's been the same team. I don't ever want to discredit 2020 because it is meaningful and stuff, but the longer they go where they lose games like this and series like this, it does start to be fair to question it, I think. Ohtani's been bad. Flat out in the postseason here, he's been bad. Outside of that home run in the game 1, he's not really made an impact. We all know Mookie's been flat out bad as a Dodger in the postseason, if not in his entire career in the postseason. And you always have to preface that all with like sample sizes and everything like that. But, and Freddie, of course, is hurt. He re-injured himself in the game, stayed in. He was a late defensive sub for Chris Taylor, but, Teoscar Hernandez is the guy we thought he was. He had that grand slam to make it a 5-6 game, but after that, just not able to do anything. So yeah, the Dodgers are on the brink of elimination. Dylan Cease goes tomorrow for the Padres, and it's a bullpen game for the Dodgers. So I have a feeling that I will be seeing you again tomorrow night with a more dour mood and a lot of questions about where the team goes from here. And it's tough. You don't want to blame a manager entirely because players still got to perform. But this has to be the end of Dave Roberts' tenure as the Dodgers manager. It has to be. You cannot lose 3 straight years to NL West opponents in the playoffs and keep your job. You just can't. You flat out can't. You play the exact same way every single postseason. This is the exact same team. This is once again a winnable game that the bats didn't come through in. I'm tired of everybody blaming the pitching. Walker Buehler was fine. The defense let him down in the second inning. It was bad. And that speaks to a lack of preparation. And that lack of preparation goes back to the manager. And if that means that Mark Prior has to go, then Mark Prior has to go. Basically the entire house needs to be cleaned. You can't do this. There's no other sport in the world where a coach would have this much failure on his resume and get to keep his job year after year. There's just not. There isn't. You wouldn't see that in football. You wouldn't see that in basketball. You wouldn't see that anywhere. Yeah, there's just not a lot from this game that was too shocking. Michael King wasn't good, but the Padres bullpen is as advertised. And yeah, we'll see if they can force a game 5 tomorrow, but history says they won't, and it's disappointing. Yeah. Oh man, you got to tip your cap to the San Diego Padres on this one, man. They're just a better team, flat out. Fernando Tatis Jr. roided up. He shows up in the playoffs. Jackson Merrill's been great in the playoffs. They have guys that don't usually do it. David Peralta has had key hits in almost every game in the series. And you have the Dodgers with guys like Max Muncy who are just not doing anything at all. Will Smith has been putrid. Tommy Edman's been good. Shout out to Tommy Edman. Miguel Rojas, I don't know if I'm reluctant to blame him. He was injured, but if Miguel Rojas is that hurt where he can't perform a simple defensive play, then why is he in the game? Which again goes back to coaching and management. So, as always, just more questions exiting a Dodgers postseason loss and game than answers we had going into it. I guess I can spend a little time talking about the lead up to this game. Obviously, I'm sure Ryan and Monty mentioned the shenanigans in Game 2, which plays exactly into the Padres' hands. But personally, I'm not a fan of Jack Flaherty mouthing off at Machado. I don't care about Machado throwing a ball at Dave Roberts. I really don't care about that. I don't like the Dodgers' comments leading up to this game. They definitely let the Padres get into their heads, all of them. It's just, what can you do? What can you really do, man? It's the same thing every year. Every year, it's the same exact thing. I feel as though the Machado incident was overblown by Dave Roberts, and I think the media played a role in overblowing it for sure too. I don't think really what he said was that bad or anything like that. It's just unfortunate. The Dodgers have made themselves look stupid, I think, going into this game, and then when it was 6-1, it wasn't looking good, and things like that tend to creep up, and the Padres just play looser in the postseason. The Dodgers get tight. You can see it in all of their faces. Yeah, and I hate to act as though the season's over, but what else can you do if you're a Dodger fan? You've been here for the last 10 years now, doing the same exact thing every single year. But maybe they won't. That's the beauty of baseball, I guess. Maybe they won't do the same thing they always do. One thing I really do harp on is this idea that baseball's postseason is so weird and the sample size is so small that you can't really take anything from it. And this is, something I can only say because I'm unopposed here, but even though he had a decent game tonight, led off the game with a home run, or not led off the game, but hit a home run in his first at bat, I might look to trade Mookie Betts in the offseason if I'm the Dodgers. The fact of the matter is that he's not a postseason player. He was 2 for his last 31, I believe, going into tonight. And that's honestly just not what you can have from a $350 million player in your lineup. You just can't. You just can't survive with that. It's not acceptable. It doesn't work. It's stupid. I had a stat guru that I trust. He ran some numbers, and Mookie's hard hit percentage rivals that of his average exit velocity is less than the average exit velocity for Austin Barnes this last season in the postseason. So Austin Barnes hit balls harder in the regular season this year than Mookie Betts does in the postseason. He's better than Kevin Biggio and Garrett Stubbs when it comes to exit velocity in the postseason. So he's just flat out not squaring up balls. He's not seeing balls well. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be a hard decision to think about. I don't know. And they won't do it, and I'm going to be lambasted for it, and that's fine. I will accept it. But I think to have the podcast incident with Tatis and then to be flat out bad when your team needed you to be good in the first couple games of the series, it's not something that should be acceptable. And I guess that's my main takeaway. My disappointments with the postseason is the comments before the series, how they felt it would be different this year, and it's not. So that, I think, goes to my overall point about management and Dave Roberts. Obviously, Mookie's performance. I think Freddie gets a pass because he's been fine, and he's also just playing probably on an ankle that's going to wind up needing surgery because he played on it. Pitching, I don't really have an issue with. The starting pitching has been okay. Not as good as you'd want it to be, but it's been fine. But you cannot have Kevin Biggio in the 2-hole in the postseason and expect to win games. You just can't. So either, this has to be something that Mookie figures out. It's got to be something either a new coaching staff identifies or he identifies, or it's just who he is. And if that's the case, then the Dodgers need to look to move him. I know we said before the postseason started that there should be more enjoyment found in the regular season, and I agree. Like, I'm not going to be bummed about the season ending. I thought the Padres were going to win in 4, as I've said. So I'm on track to be right, which I hate to be. But we didn't sign Shohei Ohtani to win 95 to 100 games in the regular season and then flame out like this. And I don't think he's going to be okay with that. I know he's going to be the first person to point at himself hitting 250, 231 and be upset about that and work to change it. I don't know if Mookie is that kind of guy, and that's fine. Everybody plays sports for different reasons. Not everybody is has the drive and the dedication to be the greatest to ever do it. And that's okay. Some guys like to get paid. They like to live in nice cities, and they show up and do their job. But I think there should be more expectations. And I think the Dodger fan base, I legitimately think Game 2 is probably the most embarrassing thing that I've seen in my time as a Dodger fan. And I was at the game where fans threw bottles at Milton Bradley. So and I know Ryan and Monty probably went over it, but I think it's just going to carry over to the offseason. But this new Dodger fan base is kind of what they've cultivated by raising ticket prices and changing the stadium and the atmosphere and everything like that. Like, it does not feel like there's any home field advantage for the Dodgers. Because it does not feel like the fans that are going to Dodger games are actual fans. Look at the difference in the stadium between Dodger Stadium and Padres and San Diego tonight. Their fans are into it. They're jacked. Not that Dodger fans aren't, but going to a Dodger game is much more of a casual activity, I think, now. I think that the hardcore Dodger fans have been priced out. And I think that you're kind of just getting tourists at this point who, oh, let's go to a Dodger game. Let's go have fun. But that's another conversation for another time. I've rambled here for 15 minutes. God knows how. Just not a lot to say. I think we'll have more to say tomorrow if the series continues, which I don't know if it will. I don't think it will. Ryan and Monty can yell at me about my ideas, but it just feels like another disappointing ending. And you have to congratulate the Padres. They've now beaten the shit out of the Dodgers. They beat the shit out of the Dodgers all year. They beat the shit out of the Dodgers 2 years ago. And it kind of feels like they're going to do that going forward unless the Dodgers make some changes. And it's tough. You hate to. I can look like a total idiot sitting here saying, oh yeah, the team that won 98 games needs to make sweeping changes, but there just can't. You cannot have this sense of complacency going into the offseason. I think especially considering how. It didn't harm anything last offseason, but Dave did kind of make himself look like a clown last year. And I think his comments and his overall just demeanor through this series and just the way they look, I don't see how he survives this. But, there's one more game. Anything can happen. Landon Knack, I believe, will get the start in air quotes for the Dodgers. And yeah, Dylan Cease for the Padres looking to close it out and advance to the NLCS. Where if they do, I think the Padres are going to win the World Series, which is going to send a lot of Dodger fans into a real tailspin. But that's something for people to deal with when we get there. Yeah, that's all I've got. I'm out of gas. Nothing left to say. Nothing really that I want to say about this team that wouldn't get me banned in multiple states and countries. So you can follow me on Twitter at Beau Not Jackson, as it says right there. You can follow Ryan and Monty at Ryan Bershinger and at Monty Bolaños. They should be back with me tomorrow. We'll see what happens. This is the Sick Podcast, The Dodger Zone, and we'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, The Dodger Zone, on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.